Well, hey everybody. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here. Great to see people in the chat. And the first message in the chat is from Heather. Hey Heather, good to see you after so long. Nice to see you. Hope everything is well. What are you up to these days? We've got the Language and Culture Shop. Hello from Canada. How's the weather in Canada? It is scorching in Thailand. It is about we've had a month of, I probably have complained about it on other videos, but we've had a month of 37, 38. Yesterday it was like, or 2 days ago, I think it was 39, 40. So it is hot here. We are definitely having a heat wave and kind of transitioning into a rainy season, which normally I really don't like, but I can't wait because it'll be a little bit cooler. Anyway, hey, Cindy Ann from Rome. Very cool. And there we go. Our friend at Outstanding English. Hey, Tim, just popping in and say hi. I will catch the replay. No worries. So yeah, if you are watching live, you can live chat with us. And if you're watching the replay, you can say hi in the comments. I always like seeing people who tune in and where they're from and what you're up to and all those things. Hey, Rachel, good to see you too. Cindy Ann says, I recently got my ICOES. I think that's pronounced ICOS. I'm not familiar with that certification though, but TEFL definitely at International Open Academy. Fantastic. Very cool. Hey, that November. Cool. South Africa. Awesome. Yeah, I know we have lots of viewers that tune in from South Africa. I know it's a little harder for you folks to get into the industry, but I do have some companies on my website that you can check out if that's the route that you're going. If you do watch the show on Facebook, you can authorize Facebook to show your name. We've got a Facebook user here. Hello from New York. Hello to you. So, normally I make a coffee or a tea. Ran out of coffee. Had my last tea bag last night, so I'm drinking watermelon juice. Let me know what you are drinking this morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you are. We're going to get right into it. So I titled this 5 top questions that people ask. And the way I know this is a lot of times people are asking me various questions, but one of the data sources I have on hot questions that online teachers, maybe like you folks, have is through my Facebook group, Going Solo Independent Teaching. That's my Facebook group. If you haven't joined, go ahead and find the link in the description of the video and join. But I ask you in the group questions before you get in, what are something that you're struggling with or a question that you have, and I can tally all those and look at some of the most popular questions that teachers have, especially online teachers who are wanting to get into the industry or to grow in the industry or to build their business, all those kinds of things. And so I've chosen the top 5 here today, and we're going to go over them. Feel free to ask more. I'm going to end us sharply at 9:30 p.m. my time, whatever that is your time. So on the half hour, because I have a premiere of a video that I'm super excited about on my channel. I'll send you there at the end if you stick around. It's all about really my turning point in my online teaching career or journey. And you'll get to sort of hear the backstory of a lot of things that I've done and how it's brought me to where I am today. And I really created it to document it, but also hopefully to be an inspiration to folks who are looking for a turning point in their own journey, something that will maybe pivot them into a different direction or increase their income or challenge them to do something that they've always wanted to do, but have found fear around doing it. So, hey, Heather. Okay, cool. Because of you, I'm scaling from our initial time together. So Heather was in a program that I offered only once. It was a couple years ago when I first moved to Thailand, and Heather was in that, and we were working on building a business. I'm scaling from our initial time together of individual students to serving the nursing department and ramping up to serve the whole community college. Wow, fantastic. So exciting to hear. Having my Tim Hortons dark roast coffee, says Jeremiah's. You know what? I went to Tim Hortons. For those that aren't Canadian, you may not really know Tim Hortons, but there is a few Tim Hortons branches in Thailand. Go figure, right? And I finally got myself to one of the Tim Hortons here in Bangkok. And if you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen the story, but wasn't quite the same, but it was pretty close. And it was really fun to have, yeah, a Tim Hortons coffee with Timbits, which are the donut holes. So that was really fun. Anyway, you must be in Canada, I'm assuming. So, all right, let's get started. So, if you have a question, feel free to put it in, and I'll try to answer them. But we're going to kind of go through these quite quickly, and I'm going to tell you really what I would do today if I was wanting to get into online teaching. If I was starting from scratch and I just, had no students, or I just was entering the industry and I wanted to be an online teacher. A few years ago, it was quite easy. I would say go with a company. They pay pretty good, especially if you're a North American teacher. Go with a company and you can get yourself started. You can get set up. You can learn the ropes. You can have them do everything for you, so to speak. You just need to show up and teach the students. But the landscape for that is really different these days, and it's harder to get in with companies. And it is, it's harder to make good money, to be quite honest. The money isn't great. A lot of the companies, excuse me, that I recommend are paying very low wages. While they can be a good place to start, it's really not ideal. So if I was getting started today and I wanted to become an online teacher, I would get myself connected with other, online teachers on Facebook. I would go into Facebook groups and I would see what other online teachers are talking about, where they're applying, what companies are hiring. I still do believe that getting hired with a company is a good route to go, because it can help you to narrow down your niche and figure out exactly what it is that you want to teach. It can be a good starting point. For a lot of teachers that want to teach online, it can be a little bit scary. And a lot of teachers sort of are overwhelmed with the idea of jumping that step and moving independently. And so I say to you, go with a company then. Try to find something that is a good fit for you. Just recognizing that it shouldn't be your long-term game. It should be your initial focus to learn the ropes, to figure out what tech you need to figure out, to learn what types of students you love to teach, to learn what you love to teach, to sort of navigate that experience of teaching online. So there are a few companies that can do that for you and can help you out in terms of getting started. But for someone that's wanting to maybe skip that step, or you know that you want to teach online long term, that you want to build a business out of this, then I would start to think about how you could do that, and focus on the things that are most important to getting that started. There's a learning curve when building a business. I would, be thinking about what type of student you want to teach. Number one, it's easy to say, well, I'd be happy to teach anyone that's wanting to learn English, but to really be effective in starting and growing your business, it's a good idea to sort of have an idea of the ideal student that you want to teach. And that might not even be a student. It might be an adult. It might be business English. It might be helping students prepare for exams. It might be, very low level English learners, young children. Whatever it is, I would encourage you as a starting point to think about who are the type of students that I want to teach. Then I would think about, where are those students? Are you wanting to teach Chinese students? Are you wanting to teach homeschoolers? Are you wanting to teach students in the Middle East, Korea, Japan, Hong Kong? And then I would find out, where are those families, those students, those people hanging out, where you're able to go in and be helpful, add value, answer questions, comment on posts, things like that, just to start to build awareness. In the business world, we call it building know, like, and trust, because before you are going to be able to collect money from someone who you think might want to take your classes, they need to know you a little bit. They need to know a little bit about you. Why are you a good teacher for their child, or why are you a good teacher for them? They need to like you. They need to have a connection with you and think that you're a relatable person for their situation. And then once they know and like you, then that trust has been built. And that's when you can start sharing about your classes. So I know that this sounds like, okay, I get it, Tim. It's a process of identifying my niche, identifying my ideal student, and then figuring out where they're hanging out online and being helpful to help them. But I need students right now, and I understand that feeling. I understand that pressure where you want to build this business, but what's a business without customers? What's a business without clients? But I can tell you that every online business started with nothing. And it was a case for anybody who built a brand online or who was able to build a business online, that it starts with identifying your customer and figuring out who it is you're selling to. And then figuring out, where could I focus my time? Where could I focus my energy in order to help and serve those people? And it doesn't have to take too long. I've always said that all you need to do is get a couple of interested students in the door, and they can really be the pillars that help to build your business over time. So do we have any questions about starting out? Is there anyone in here that's just getting started and has any questions about where to go, what companies to apply to, and things like that? I'd be happy to focus on your questions if you have any. All right, we just got some listeners. That's cool. But hello from Chiang Mai to you too. So this is probably the question that I get every day. What do I do to get started? How do I do this? I want to teach online. How do I do this? So I usually say, get your TESOL or TEFL certification. If you are hesitant about building a business right off the bat, I would look at getting into some companies. You can head on over to my website, click on the Start Here button or Teach, and you can see some of the ones that I recommend. There's not many these days, but I would also be joining some Facebook groups that focus on talking about online companies, because I certainly don't know all of them out there. I know a lot of companies, I really do, but I don't know all of them. And there's a lot of teachers out there that are still teaching with companies, making a pretty good wage, and figuring out where the good places are and where the not so good places are to teach. So, you don't have to do this alone. There's a huge community out there to help and support you. Okay, so that's getting started. The second most popular question I get is, where do I find students? I like to flip this question and say, I'd rather you ask, how can I attract my students? Because it's not always a case of a student being out there in the internet space somewhere and we've got to go and find them and bring them in. It doesn't really happen like that. I would start with looking at your current connections. So what I would do is, if I was brand new and I had no students, I would take a piece of paper. Here's my book. And I would write down all of the possible connections that I have to potential students. So we've all had previous employment. We've all had job. Maybe some of you were teachers before or are currently classroom teachers. I would think about, in the community, where are some places that I could locally advertise for students, advertise for my classes. And if you're specifically teaching ESL, think about the organizations that are out there that support families that are maybe new to your country. If you're living in the US or Canada or any Western country, there's more than likely multiple agencies or companies that are helping to serve second language learners, immigrants, things like that. So I would look at what agencies are out there and how could I make those connections. I would also be reaching out to family and friends, because, as I say many times before, no one is going to talk about your business more than you are. The only person that's going to talk more about your business are the students that you get in the door that are happy with your classes, who then refer you, right? But in the initial stages, if you don't talk about it and you don't share that this is what you're doing, then no one else is going to do it for you. I promise you that. You have to be the one that puts the pedal to the metal and gets in the driver's seat and says, okay, I've committed to doing this. Where are potential students within my local network, my local community, my local online community, my social media? Even if you haven't set up a teacher brand online, who could you initially reach out to maybe get a few leads, a few interested students that you could start with? Even if they aren't your ideal student, that's okay. We all have to start somewhere. And so if you are kind of like at that place of, look, I've got no contacts, I've got no students, I've got 0 leads, this might be a place to start. And I have also heard of teachers even reaching out to their local Chinatown, or advertising in local Chinese restaurants, or meeting families that might know of people who could help you out and get you a couple of students to start out with. Because if there are new immigrants or second language learners moving to a Western country, most likely they are wanting to improve in their English, whatever it is. Could be business English for adults, fluency, pronunciation, just general English for children, all kinds of things. So I wouldn't give up. I would really start to look at locally, who could you help and support? Then the next step would be setting up a teacher brand online. So that would look like using social media to do that. So you're not going to get on Instagram and advertise to teach Chinese students. You're going to find out what apps are Chinese students or Chinese families using in order to share about their life, or to share about their child's life, or to maybe look for an English teacher. And there are apps that do that. A closed app that's used mainly for communication that a lot of us are using to communicate with Chinese students is WeChat. You're not really able to do much global marketing on there outside of the app, but there is an app called Xiaohongshu that you can get on and just start by learning the lay of the land. It's a little bit like Instagram. You want to go into and search for people that are maybe talking about English or sharing videos of their child learning English. You want to find out the hashtags that are being used, and create content that's helpful. It's not all about always advertising your classes. You should be being helpful, adding value, answering questions 80% of the time, and advertising your classes about 20% of the time. I grew up in Toronto. Tim Hortons is Canada's Dunkin' Donuts. It sure is. Oh, did someone ask what is Tim Hortons? Rachel says, where is the best start for someone with a bachelor in early childhood education but has never taught yet? Okay, so are you wanting to teach online? I'm assuming so. If so, and you're focused on early childhood, you're going to probably be wanting to teach children. You've never taught yet online, or you've never taught in person. So if you've never taught online before and it's a little bit overwhelming, then I would probably go with a company called Nil English in Korea, or Cambly, although I know that they're hiring, but some people get really stuck there with the application process. But they really kind of hire pretty much everyone. They only pay about $10 an hour. You'll make a little bit more with Nil English. But I might start there, Rachel, because it sounds like you've got the qualifications. Is WeChat acceptable by China's rules? Absolutely. I mean, I've had WeChat for 13 years. So yeah, definitely nothing wrong with having WeChat at all. And they have WeChat for foreigners. So WeChat, that is the WeChat that we would have outside of China, is called WeChat, and it's in English, and you can still communicate with Chinese people in China, but their app is called Weixin, and it's a little bit different, and you have access to different things. But yeah, absolutely. So you've never taught in person before, but have you taught online before? So finding students, that's what I would be, focusing on if you are starting from scratch. But once you get 1 to 2 students in the door, they can really be the pillars that help you to grow through referrals, through word of mouth. And, but, alongside of that, you really want to be thinking about choosing one social media app to create content on, to start to just say, hey, I'm an online IELTS teacher, and I can help you improve your score in the IELTS exam from this to this. Or I know it's called band, I think. I don't know the IELTS very well, but, or, I am a business English teacher, and I can help you improve your English for the work environment and help you with your confidence and fluency, whatever it is. Find that niche statement that shows who you're working with, who they are, how you can help them, and the results that you can bring to them. Okay. All right. Any more questions around students? Not only student teaching. No, only student teaching and substitution. Okay. So that's a good start. If you're wanting to teach online, maybe look at one of those companies that I mentioned. But, it's really not a long-term game with those companies. They don't pay enough. You really want to be thinking about how you can do this on your own and how you can build your own teaching business where you charge what you want, and you teach what you want, and you teach who you want as well. You have complete control over everything. Okay. Question number 3, this is a lot of people ask this. How do I do all the tech stuff? So I say, keep it simple, right? There's a lot of different things out there, especially when you're starting your online teaching business, to figure out, what are you going to teach? Where are you going to teach them? Is it going to be on Zoom? Is it going to be somewhere else? Do I need to have a microphone? What do I need? Keep it simple. You need to have the basics. And while companies provide all of that stuff for us, when you're doing it on your own, you really need to think of how you could do this in a simple way to get started, and you can always improve your systems later on. So I also encompass the sort of back end to the business stuff under this umbrella of technology, because you need to have a way to track your classes. You need to have a platform to teach on that you're comfortable with, that can screen share, that can allow the student and you to have video and audio. You need to have a way to accept payments, right? So all of this is tech. And if you're just getting started, it can be overwhelming. But you want to stick to the basics. You want to choose a place to teach on. You want to choose your curriculum. You want to find a simple way to get paid. Maybe it's just PayPal, right, to get started. You want to think about what you're offering in terms of a package. Like, are you doing 20 classes or 30 classes or 40 classes? How much are they? And what's included in that? So just stick to the basics. I call them the 5 Ps, but I'm going to forget one, I think. Pricing, package, platform, program, and the other one was payment. So if you want to keep it simple, focus on those 5. Get those sorted out. Of course, you need, your technology set up and all that type of stuff, but it doesn't have to be difficult, and it doesn't have to be complicated. I use ClassIn to teach on. I use Stripe to collect payments from China. And I use an app called Notion to track my lessons. I mean, that's really it. I use some pre-made curriculum and also some other resources to help as well. Which leads me into the next question is, what do I teach? So a lot of online teachers struggle with, well, am I going to create my own lesson, or am I going to buy something, or am I going to choose a resource online that someone's mentioned, like Oxford? Or am I going to do a reading program like Reading A to Z? Or am I going to teach like what they teach in North American schools, like the Wonders program, Common Core? You have to think about what sort of time availability you have in this game of online teaching. Like, do you have the time to create lessons? Do you have the time to write your own program? Most of you would probably say no. And so there's nothing wrong with going with something that's pre-made, but that allows flexibility. So I use a particular curriculum, Crystal Clear ESL, but it's not the only thing that I use. In fact, for several of my students, I use a very skeletal version of her lessons because they need other things. We focus on grammar a lot with 2 of my students. And so I use another resource to work with them on some sort of more like repetitive grammar type of stuff that's a little bit more in depth than maybe just 2 or 3 slides with a question and an answer. I feel like they need a bit more, which, not every program gives you everything that you need. For students that need a little bit more help with reading, I use something different as well. I use Raz Kids books for that. I think that they're fun, they're engaging, and they provide a little bit of alternative to the clickable PPT type of slides. So yeah, but I would encourage you to have like a flexible approach to everything that you do. I would never say you should sell your program to potential students or parents. You want to be careful about that because that really locks you in. But if you like a particular curriculum, I've got videos that you can watch on my channel about different ESL curriculum. I've got a section on my website, a blog post all about the ESL curricula that I've checked out and know a little bit about. And you're welcome to email me and ask me questions as well. But, curriculum doesn't have to be overwhelming. and it can change and evolve as your business grows. So I've changed different programs multiple times in the last couple of years because certain things just didn't work, and I found things that worked better, and I needed to have a little bit of flexibility. So um, nothing wrong with just getting started with something that's simple, and then evolving as you evolve. Your curriculum can evolve as well. And the last question is, how do I transition from a company? So let me know in the comments what your current online teaching situation is. Are you working with a company? Are you wanting to teach independently? I'd like to know. Hey, how are you? Is it Catherine? I'm not going to be able to pronounce your full name, but welcome. You're from Zimbabwe. Fantastic. So good to have you here. And I love, on my end, I just see hand pink waving, but I know that you're doing one of these emojis. So good to have you. Yeah, let me know in the comments what your online teaching situation is. Boy, there's really nothing better than fresh watermelon juice. Probably my favorite drink besides coffee. Transitioning from a company is something I would encourage everyone to do. If you're with a company and you are tired of low salary and frustrating policies and unstable schedules, then yes, set a date. That's the first thing you need to do. You need to say and make a decision that this is what you want to do. So maybe it's, say, 3 months from today, I am going to move away from this company and start my online teaching business. That gives you 3 months to work on things. That gives you 3 months to find students. That gives you 3 months to get everything set up, and you can do it. But when you have that date set, another thing I would do is I would tell 1 or 2 people who are going to encourage you to do it. Some of you might have people in your life that would say, you're crazy. You can't do this on your own. How are you ever going to do it? How are you ever going to build a business? To those people, I say, don't say anything. Tell a couple of people that you trust that are in your circle that would encourage you. Set a date and say, hold me accountable. This is the date that I am going to finally move away from this and charge what I'm worth. Look, I charge $50 an hour for my classes, and I was making between $19 and $23 an hour with VIP Kid, and I was paid well at VIP Kid. That was a higher rate of pay, and I was only short notice towards the end. So I was making 23, 24 at the end almost. So even with that good wage, I was still able to double that by going independent. And many of you, if you're making $10 an hour, can triple, quadruple, and 5x it. So set a date, tell a couple of people, and then start to put those things into place. If you're with a company, that's a really good situation to be in, because you might be able to low key let your students know that you are moving on soon and you'd love to stay in touch, right? How are you going to stay in touch? You can do this very easily without being overt about what you're doing and risking your job. But as I always say, companies are never going to take care of you. So you need to take care of yourself. When I was, when companies were closing their doors overnight a couple of years ago, I used to tell teachers, look, if you need to take these students with you, you need to take them now. You need to tell them that you're moving. Even if you get a resignation letter or if you're fired the next day, doesn't matter. At least you've got a few students and you can do this on your own, because these companies are not going to last. So that is that. Thanks everybody for being here. We are like right on the dot, and I've got a video premiering on my channel right now in about 2 minutes. It's all about a real turning point for me as an online teacher. And I just get so excited talking about the different things that the online world can open up for you. And if you're someone that wants to make more money, watch this video and be inspired by it to maybe have your own turning point where you can, make more money. Because while online teaching is really wonderful, it is, if you're only teaching one-to-one classes, you are always going to be trading time for money, and your income capacity is always going to be capped, because there's only so many hours in a day that you can teach, and there's only so many students that you can teach. So tune in for that. Anyway, good to see everybody. Thank you so much for showing up. And I'm just reading a couple comments here. Okay. Cindy, so companies make some money now. The schools here. You definitely can. You definitely can. Stick around, and I hope to continue to help in that area. But let me just give you the link if you're not sure. It is premiering right now. Would love to have you join the premiere of the video. So thanks, everybody. You can click on that link and go and watch it with me. I will see you all next week. Oh, by the way, if there's anyone that wants to be interviewed, any online teachers that you know of with a story, let them know. Shoot me an email. My email is down below. I haven't had too many interview requests lately, so I am looking and hope to have more interviews in the coming weeks on the channel. So anyway, take care. Thanks, everyone. Happy teaching, and we'll see you next week.